back to my channel, everyone. So today I'd like to give you guys a bit of a background story. If you looked at my YouTube channel bio, you probably already know that I am a Taiwanese Canadian currently living in Toronto. But as I was growing up in Taiwan, I actually was exposed to a lot of different spiritual practices, as I like to call it. I grew up in a Buddhist family. I also have family members who are Christians. So growing up, I was immersed in the two biggest religions in the world. There's also the culture of going to temples and just more of a tradition as part of a Taiwanese. Like you would go pray, you would do incense and all these things, paying your respect to your ancestors or the gods. And there's also parts like fortune telling, or removing things from you if you were possessed, and as such. So even growing up, I was already pretty familiar with the spiritual realms or practices of things. And I would say, because I've developed more of an intuitive gift over the years, ever since I was young, I've always had kept some sort of practice within myself, like tapping into myself and listening to my own voices and intuition. And so I will only say in the recent years where I'm going through my own spiritual journey along with my healing journey, as you probably saw in my first video, there are quite a few, I wouldn't say rituals, it's more like practices and little things I do here and there. And they're nothing super out there. I'm pretty sure some of you probably have tried it. But for me, the key point of spirituality, because spirituality can mean so many different things for so many different people. And for me, that comes into the concept of coming back to ourselves. So being spiritual for me means tapping into my own intuition, wisdom, and healing myself and doing the inner work. And that could be guided and accelerated through other healers that I mentioned in my first video. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go watch it. And that also meant understanding the basic foundations and concepts of spirituality, because there are sometimes the darker side of things. There's always gonna be the light side and positive side, and there's also the darker stuff. I personally try to stay the clean and positive energy vibes, right? I don't wanna suddenly attract different things. I've been very blessed and so grateful that I am protected and supported by my ancestors and all these angels and spiritual beings that are looking after me. And that's part of the intuitive gifts that I've developed over the years. And so these methods and the healers I mentioned before, I would consider also different methods or modalities that you can lean into to cultivate that intuition and going back to yourself. Because at the end of the day, the good healers will tell you the answer is already within yourself. You do not need to keep seeking external things for validation. And that kind of relates to my last video, so make sure to watch that as well. And so for me, these practices are more so to ground me, to also remind me of my own wisdom and the gifts that I possess within myself in this lifetime. So these methods might not work for you, so just take what resonates, and also you can leave in the comment section what has worked for you. And I feel these methods or practices will change as we evolve and grow here on earth. The first practice for me is something that happened probably around last month. I just find everything is meant to happen the way it happened, like I said in the first video, because one day woke up not feeling stressed or overwhelmed or anxious. And this has been a feeling that I have not been able to tap into for a very long time. Probably last time I felt that is probably 5-6 years ago. And it came to this realization, like this voice in my head that says, what does my soul want me to experience today? And that has been a powerful question for myself as I start each day. It gives me this frame of reference of everything that I'm experiencing today is something that my soul kind of wants to learn from, or to experience, or just to witness. You know, a lot of times it's just witnessing as things unfold. And so I don't feel stressed and anxious, or even when something negative happens or upsetting, I'm like, oh, interesting. The other person had this kind of reaction, or this event happened this way. So what can I learn from that? What can I gather from this? And how do I respond next? Pretty much every day, a bit more on this underlying current of calmness, like groundedness. So I don't really let things get to me personally that much anymore. I still have emotions, but I realize emotions is also a part of experiencing. So for me, that's feeling like if every day is a new day, in the sense that probably Steve Jobs said the quote of like, live every day as if it's your last, or something like that. And that is supposed to motivate you to get what you want to get done. But for me, it's more so, okay, if today was the last day, or if today is a new day, what does my soul want to experience? So if this resonates with you, please try it out and let me know how it lands and how it impacts your life. And so for tip 2, it's kind of similar. It's also affirmations throughout the day. So if you look at my YouTube channel bio, I do write one-line affirmations at the bottom. It says, we are free, we are blessed, we are loved, we are divinely supported. And I change it to I am, like I'm blessed, I'm loved, I'm free, I'm divinely supported. And just repeating that a few times throughout the day really helps sets the tone. And I think that might be contributing to the calmness and groundedness, because I do feel like there's not that many moments where I feel trapped, I can't get out of things. In fact, there are times when I'm like, oh no, like I'm so rushed to get something else done, there's still another meeting. Miraculously, meetings will get moved or miraculously a deadline will get moved, and I'm just like, oh, okay, it just all works in your favor. Like the universe always works for us, doesn't work against us. And I always enjoy that quote to remind myself that's how my soul wants to experience that, you know. And my third practice is oftentimes when I'm working and I'm feeling like, okay, there's a lot of things going on. I have to edit videos or do a lot of content creation or do client work or coaching stuff. All these things I have, because I'm managing so many things just by myself, I tend to listen to sound bath music or heart music or healing, calming music, right? Or even spa meditation music. And it really calms me down. It reminds me of why when we go to spa and they play certain music, and it just helps us enter a relaxed mode. And that does the same for me. So some people might listen to jazz or lo-fi. I do that too. Some people might listen to classical. There are times when I listen to EDM music, but most of the time when I'm trying to ground myself and tap into my intuition and feel more calm, it's usually a sound bath and calming music that really helps me enter that zone. And so the other thing that I also tap into is my fourth practice, which is I never formally learned, but I had other psychic friends saying I do have the intuitive gifts, so I do sometimes give myself tarot or oracle readings, oracle deck readings, and I would say they're pretty on point, but I don't really use them as frequently as before. Nowadays it's just maybe once in a blue moon, or when I'm trying to, how am I processing certain things, or this challenge came up, is there something else I should be aware of? But to be honest, even things with these cards and decks, these are mostly symbols. Tarot is mostly the archetypes, the symbols. The oracles are more of someone else's creation, and there's only so many cards. So that means there's only so many different combinations if you apply the mathematical logic to it. So sometimes it could be very interesting because it would just be like there's synchronicity. You keep getting the same cards over and over for the same question. But a lot of times it's for me to understand this is what my intuition or myself, my soul is trying to tell me something. So it's through a representation of a card. So that's been really helpful for me. But again, like I always tell even my other friends, even if you go to healers or readings, you can believe it to a certain extent, but like, don't become so addicted and that you're so overly reliant, because as humans, we do have free will. We shape our life and shape our experiences how we want it to go. Sometimes when in co-creation, as I was saying earlier, what does my soul want to experience today? But keeping that in mind, you won't be too easily influenced and keep wanting to go back and do more readings or do more healing sessions. I don't think that's super healthy either. So you gotta find whatever works and whatever is the good balance for yourself. And lastly would be meditation. But I have an interesting take on that because I've tried guided meditation. And I'm that person that maybe if I'm lying in bed before I sleep, then sure, I can lie there and not move and just listen to someone and then fall asleep and I'm calm. But if you're telling me to do guided meditation early in the morning, which I've tried, or even midday, it's a bit tough for me because I can't like sit still. I can sit still to do work, but for me, I've had other friends tell me, why don't you try walking meditation? So at the heart of it, meditation is to help you to get into the alpha state, where this is a very calm and kind of like zoned out, like you're in the flow. And to get to that state, you kind of just needs to be in this like, not, they call it emptiness, right? That's how, the best way they can describe it. That's why there's some guided, like, oh, let's do some breath work. Let's think about this. But when you walk, especially for me, if I'm not listening to music, I am just letting go. And it's like the surrendering, like just letting go of all the noises, anything that's going on in your head. For me, that's when I can really hear myself, not other people's voices or not other people's expectations or thoughts about me. So if you are also struggling with guided meditation, you could try walking meditations. There are walking meditation music, and that could be supportive. There's also, I know people who do meditations with crystals. I do that from time to time, and that's usually when I'm about to go to sleep. But you do what you feel is good for you. And I think whatever I share today is just a glimpse of someone else's, spiritual practices to help them stay grounded and calm and to feel they can really tap into themselves. And that's gonna look very different from person to person. Like you cannot technically replicate something and force it upon yourself because that's not gonna feel natural and effortless to you. So I will highly recommend that you explore what other practices and methods there are out there, as long as, stay safe, do what makes most sense for you, and create your own rituals and daily routines that is supportive of you and also your own internal healing and your journey. So I hope that was useful for you today. And if you have any practices or tips or methods you'd like to share, please let me know in the comments. I will see you all next time. In the meantime, please like and subscribe and share this with your friends. Thank you. Bye.